Okay, good evening. My name is Ed Katz. I'm on the faculty of Carnegie Mellon, Silicon Valley. Every year, except sometimes a couple of times a year, I teach a course called Software Engineering Practicum. This course is a capstone course where master students take this course at the end of their curriculum. And what is unusual about this course is we find outside clients that have real problems, and the students sign up to work on projects that are of interest to them. I found a small startup company that is doing tabletop robotics out of Berkeley, and encouraged them to apply for a team. They did, and 3 of our master students jumped at the chance to work on this project for this semester. This semester is just now ending. This is the last week of the semester. And this team gave their final presentation today. Actually, they've done 2 already. This is their 3rd one. I'm really getting work out of them today. Anyway, so they graciously are coming here to give a short version of their presentation of building a system that works with autistic children. I'll let them explain it more in detail. I'm going to let Danny and John introduce themselves, and Jared, you want to stand up? Jared is representative of Origami Robotics, the startup company, and was working with this team. And Jay, you want to stand up? And, so the actual representatives of the company are also here to see this. So without further ado, take it away and introduce yourself.
Thank you very much, Ed. First of all, thanks for inviting us here. This is my 2nd time here. Ed has been urging me to become a member. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes.
Oh. There you go. Let me restart. Thank you, Ed, and thank you very much for allowing us to come here to talk about our project. My name is Danny Brown. I'm a Master of Science in Software Engineering student at Carnegie Mellon here in Silicon Valley. And this is?
My name is John May. I'm also a master's student at Carnegie Mellon University in the Software Engineering program.
And we are both in the technical track, and together there's a third member of our team who's not able to make tonight's presentation. And the name of our team is Robotics. Okay, so we're going to start with a video to sort of set a context for what the project is about, and then after the video we'll come back in and continue with our presentation. So enjoy.
This is Romibo, a social robot, a therapist, educator, and friend for people of all ages and abilities.
Every teacher we talk to who's been using the robot has just been saying amazing things about how engaged the children are.
Here at Duck's Nest Preschool, Jared Peters has been using Romibo to engage children with a range of capabilities and special needs.
Some children find faces, human faces, to be more dynamic and so therefore more overwhelming than they may a computer face.
Thanks to the robot, kids that are otherwise less verbal are socializing with their peers.
So we've seen a few incidents where the other children start talking to the child with special needs more than I've ever seen them do. And that's because the robot is drawing out that language and that speech.
The robot can speak,
I hope you make good choices today.
move, and connects directly to the iPad so you can download apps to play games,
I spy something. Hey, that's it. You got it.
tell stories, and even speak Spanish.
Do you know the word? Hyena.
The Romibo is helping clinicians and teachers rethink how they approach therapy techniques.
We work with puppets a lot already with children under 5. And what makes the Romibo different from the normal puppet, typical puppet, is that Romibo can roam around the room and operate remotely, and that conveys a different sort of agency to some children.
They are in that realm of fairy tale where they can connect with him as they believe that it's real. And I think that's when they can just really open up.
Results have been promising. Duck's Nest has decided to adopt Ramibo as a permanent part of the family.
Today we had one little guy who is normally not very vocal, but with the robot today he was very verbose.
We will be having him here from what I understand, and I think that it'll be part of our Duck's Nest family.
We need your help to get the word out. The robot's unique abilities have helped students and teachers alike. Please help us bring Ramibo to your therapy session, classroom, and family.
I love meatball. Hug. Get a hug.
Okay, so the name of the project that we worked on is Ramibo Web, and in a minute I'll explain to you the difference between Ramibo and Ramibo Web. And we subtitled it Social Robot Meets the Cloud because, in essence, there is Ramibo, which is a social robot, and the part that we work on has to do with cloud computing. So we marry those two together, we got a social robot that meets the cloud. These are the members of the team. Next slide. And the stakeholders. You met Jared already, you met Jane. Okay, so what is Ramibo? Before that, let me backtrack for a second and sort of give you even more context. Autism, some of you may know about it. You probably have somebody who has it, or you know of somebody who has it. It's essentially a general term used to describe a group of complex disorders associated with brain development. And three of the main characteristics of those disorders are difficulty in social interaction, verbal and nonverbal communication, and repetitive behavior. And so one of the main ways of treating autism right now is therapy. And social robotics is one of the approaches that is currently being used to improve on that. In fact, according to a recent article in the MIT Technology Review, social robotics is revolutionizing therapy for autism. And so Ramibo fits into that category. It's a product that actually is a social robot that is contributing in that regard. Okay.
Somebody need to move?
Okay.
We ran out of time.
So one of the main reasons why social robotics is making such a huge impact is that social robots are simpler to interact with for autistic children in particular, and in general. They are much simpler to interact with than humans, right? They can play games repetitively, and they can also capture the interactions between the child and the robot, and you can put that away for further study later on. And so social robots are really changing the way that autistic children learn new skills. And that is where Ramibo is very important in that context. And that's why, as a team, we were very passionate about this project, and we jumped on it on the first opportunity. So now back to Ramibo itself. It's like I said, it's a social robot that it can be used by caregivers to help model social interactions, motivate learning, and facilitate communication. So who is using it? Essentially, there are many institutions that have signed on, and we put. There are 14 different places, and we put 4 of them over there. But one thing they have in common is that they are using Ramibo as a tool during therapy sessions for autistic children. So that's very important. Next slide. Okay, so the product is out there. There are 14 different places using it. And naturally, there will be some issues because, after all, it's a very, very new project. It's a new product, and it's actually in the beta state right now. Yes. And so they experience some pain points. And some of the pain points we gathered when we came on the project, and we essentially grouped them into 4 different main categories. So efficiency issues, storage issues, collaboration issues, and hardware constraints. So those were, in a broad sense, those were the pain points that the early adopters were experiencing. And so, now that I've given you a little bit of context and background, I'll hand over to my colleague John here, who's going to talk a little bit about Romibo Web and the architecture.
So, as Danny explained, Romibo Web is actually just a web application. It's built on top of Ruby on Rails. It's a three-tier architecture for the presentation, logic, and data. So the important thing here is not the technical things of Romibo Web. The important thing here is you actually can create content now through a web browser instead of the iPad. And you can also store that content onto the Amazon Web Services cloud. So once that data and content is stored, you can actually start sharing with other colleagues or clinicians or therapists. And the endpoint goal of creating this content is being able to actually use the iPad controller to actually use Romibo to give therapy to autistic kids. So you can see here from the Amazon Web Services, we push content to the iPad app where we can actually interact with Romibo. So next, we're going to actually go log into Romibo and demo Romibo Web a little bit. So next out of the presentation. So this is Romibo Web. It's based on the architecture we just showed previously. And here in Romibo Web, you log in, you're brought to the dashboard. You can go and create a palette or a lesson. Basically create a palette, have different actions you can create. These are actually actions that you use to interact with the children. So once these actions are actually created, you can save them, you can share, and also collaborate with other caregivers for feedback and more to own and improve the palette. So once you create the palette, you can also create lesson plans that you can attach to the palette. They can attach to the palette, and then you can share these lessons also with your colleagues. So instead of, you're not here to see Romibo Web, you're here to see Romibo. So next we're actually going to have Jared, demo Romibo.
I like to eat phones. They are crunchy and delicious.
What does he like to eat?
Phones.
When does a robot need training? Whenever he gets rusty.
Get a joke?
It's a good groan.
Laugh it up.
Come on.
Tough crowd.
Just play around.
Just play around.
Give us some therapy.
Yeah, so some examples of therapy that we do. We use it to do turn taking. We'll use it to have the child practice interacting, so you can help them learn greetings, for example. I wish we had some better video of working with the kids. And yeah, so it's very
Cow.
The kids really like getting feedback from this in addition to from other therapists. You guys should just continue. I wasn't ready to.
Yeah, that's fine. So let's demo it. Let me set it right there. So what we're going to do is go back into Romibo Web and sort of dive a little bit into details as to how you can use it and how you can use it to collaborate with other users. So John here is going to create a new palette. And by the way, while he's doing that, maybe I should explain some of the terminologies. So you've heard us talk about buttons, palettes, and lessons. So buttons are nothing but an encapsulation of actions that you can do on Romibo. So if you want Romibo to say hello, you create a button and you give it a speech phrase that will say hello. And then we use text-to-speech translation to get it to actually say those. Now, once you have a collection of buttons, you need somewhere to store them. And so that's what palette is for. So a palette is essentially a container for one or more buttons. So you can create a palette, and when you create a palette, you usually have a default button because one of the emphasis, we wanted to make a software that is very considerate. In other words, it should be the least amount of pain possible for a user. It should be very user-friendly, and you shouldn't have to jump through a lot of hoops to get anything done. So once you create a palette, there's a new button for you, and you can go ahead and change the title, change the speed, change the speech range, change the size, the color. You can even clone the same button multiple times. Now, in case you want to change a number of buttons, some attributes at the same time, you can go into multiple edit mode, select the buttons that you want to change for, and you can apply the whatever attribute you want to change for that. Okay, so let's say you create a button and a palette, and then you realize that, hey, you wanted to create some buttons, but you have an existing palette that has the same buttons. You can go into the palette that has the buttons, and then just copy over those buttons by just dragging and dropping into the other palette. So John here is going to select a number of buttons and drag and drop them into the new palette that he created. And voila, you have the buttons copied over for you. So you have a colleague that that's interested in the palette that you want to show it to them. You can go ahead and recommend that button to them, the palette, sorry. Select the palette, select the person you want to recommend it to. And once that is done, when they log in, at the bottom left-hand side of the palette editor, that palette you just recommended to them will show up over there. Okay, so those are some of the main features. There's a lot more, but we know we have restricted time, so we'll leave it here for now so that we have room for questions.
Let me ask how much does it cost to get a robot like that right now?
So our closest competitor in robots that are specifically designed for this purpose is about $3,500, which is pretty inaccessible to most of the therapists out there. We're currently going for about $750, and hopefully we can get that down even lower next year.
I'm just curious about the voice. Would you offer
Siri.
different, like option of different sound or voice?
Yeah, we really want to. That's one of the problems we'd like to have down the line. Children really like to be able to customize their experience. So we have a few different coats and jackets that they can wear, different color spurs, and voices is going to be one, or animations, things like that.
In regards to the color, is there like a particular color scheme that you find works best? Is like bright colors, certain ends of the spectrum, more, I guess, engaging or disturbing?
We haven't personally done a lot of testing on what colors children prefer. We have maybe 12, a dozen or so different color spurs that people can choose from. But we don't have enough users to really be able to dive into that data. From my experience, I've been working with kids with autism for 10 years. Red seems to be a very popular color, but blue is also a very calming color, so we tend to go with blues.
Tell them about the plastic shell.
And we also have a plastic shell available too. A furry, even though it is washable, a furry solution isn't always the ideal solution.
The flappers are new, right?
The flappers are new.
Oh, we can undress them.
Yeah, we're looking forward to being able to sit back and relax and make some costumes for this guy. Another question?
What sensors does Ravi have, and how do you use the data?
So right now, the first 5 versions were built in Arduino and Raspberry Pi. They had a lot more sensors plugged in. We've pivoted toward an iOS solution now. So it's got an iPod for a brain. We have all the sensors that are in an iPod, which will allow us to connect to the cloud, record data from sessions more easily, a little more teacher-friendly. Oh, this is embarrassing. Yeah, an iPod Touch. Right now it's running on top of a Romo. But we're working with Ted Larson, who is helping us. Ted Larson is helping us build our next one. It's all proprietary, and then still works with Yahoo.
Any other questions?
Yeah, you guys want to see the cats?
Yeah. We're always interested in this. So will you put them up over there so that people can look at them after that thing? Sorry to cut you off here, but we have two speakers tonight, and we have to leave time.
All right, thank you very much.